West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's 9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, July 25th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, we're going to talk with Peter Boyles, who had worked alongside Hulk Hogan as a radio announcer at some point, right?
Yeah, he worked
I
worked for Vince and worked for Vern Gagne, NWA, AWA, and WWF at the time before it became WWE. Side note, WWF, the World Wrestling Federation, became World Wrestling Entertainment, part because they wanted to brand themselves as sports entertainment, but also because of a lawsuit by the World Wildlife Fund, the original WWF. And so they were arguing over the WWF moniker, and rather than cut the big giant check that Vince McMahon was going to have to, they transitioned to WWE. So while it was a WWF...
Oh, man, they should have rolled that in. You think wrestling in the ring with two men is...
Okay.
as violent as the Serengeti.
I wear this T-shirt every once in a while, and every so often people laugh because, okay, on the front it has in black letters, says WWF in black letters, and has two pandas on the front. One panda standing there, the other panda standing behind the second one with a steel chair about to hit him. And every once in a while someone gets it, and I'm like, "You're my friend."
That is hilarious. Yeah. Wow, that is funny. So we're going to talk with Peter Boyles. I would love to hear your experience with Hulk Hogan. I was born in 81, so he was peak. He was peak when I was a kid growing up. And I remember being like 4 or 5. My dad told me the story that I was so eager to see what I called Hulk Hogan at the time that he took me. And I got angry because the people wouldn't sit down in front of me.
Yeah, you couldn't see him. That is a problem.
So I had a hard time seeing. But Hulk Hogan. And then, wrestling with your dad and your brothers and all that fun stuff. And, it wasn't nearly as big as and kind of built out as it was. So it felt more kind of edgy watching wrestling.
It's a weird one for me because with Hogan, he occupies two different eras inside of my life, and one of them is right when I'm coming up and I'm a kid, and I'm a huge fan of pro wrestling, and this is before we got into the big WWE at the time, and then getting Saturday night's main event and getting into remember they had Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling. He had his own Saturday morning cartoon show at a time in which they only played cartoons on a Saturday morning, so it was huge. But that's also the time in my life in which I'm coming to the realization that maybe they're not really hurting each other. And Hogan's not necessarily the most believable worker inside the ring. Piles of charisma, but he has basically 4 moves. And his work rate is kind of soft at times. So that was difficult. So while professional wrestling, something that kids in the neighborhood used to make fun of for watching, starts to become the cool thing, is a time in which I am getting the stars and the stardust wiped out of my eyes as far as this is actually a show, not an actual event. But it gave it legitimacy. Then it disappeared for a while. Then back in the 90s, when the NWO comes around and Hogan becomes cool again, then wrestling becomes cool again. So there are these 2 moments in my life that Hulk Hogan is definitely very influential in making this hobby that I have become acceptable. So I'm not teased by the rest of my peer group. All of a sudden, kids that never watched pro wrestling are wearing NWO t-shirts. And all of a sudden, I was the cool kid because I knew all about it. And then that has waned as well. So it's really, really interesting, these 2 different pieces in my life that Hogan's responsible for. But I don't think that he's necessarily one of the greatest wrestlers. He's one of the best ever in the sport because of what he did. But as far as Flair is the top of the mountain, but Flair never could have broken through and made professional wrestling the cultural event that Hogan did. Hogan appeared in Rocky III. He was Thunderlips. He lost to Clubber Lang, and that's how Clubber Lang gets the title.
That's right.
That's where it starts. So that's how big it is that Hogan appears in Rocky III. Flair's not shown up in Rocky III. I think Flair's the best of all time. But that's it. He is so important culturally that he has the ability to break through. And for that, I will always, always say he's one of the greatest performers ever. Piles of charisma, not a great work rate, but that's okay.
That was a good analysis, Bill. Well done.
Well, thanks.
All right, now it's time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
TGIF. Good morning. 72 and sunny in Denver with some haze in the air from some fires in the west. Expecting a high of 90 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, 2 injured in a shooting early this morning downtown on Pearl Street and 17th. Investigation continues, so expect some challenges getting around there this morning. 1 person is dead after a shooting at the University of New Mexico this morning. The shooter is still at large. 1 other person was injured. Obamagate continues. Attorney Jonathan Turley says it looks like 1 or 2 of these corrupt communists may go down. Barry Obama will more than likely escape like he always does. What a liar. His entire life is a fraud. And he carried out this attempted coup and treason in 2016. And you know what? A lot of knuckleheads still believe it, i.e. Democrats. They probably also think those are he and Big Mike's daughters. The DOJ will continue interviews now with Epstein's partner in crime, Ghislaine Maxwell. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says he'll meet with Maxwell again today following a first round of questioning in Tallahassee. Last hour, DJT on the White House lawn.
Well, I don't want to talk about that. What I do want to say is that Todd is a great attorney, but you ought to be speaking about Larry Summers. You ought to be speaking about some of his friends that are hedge fund guys. They're all over the place. You ought to be speaking about Bill Clinton, who went to the island 28 times. I never went to the island.
Do you maintain you did not write a letter for Jeffrey Epstein's birthday?
I don't even know what they're talking about. Now, somebody could have written a letter and used my name, but that's happened a lot. All you have to do is take a look at the dossier, the fake dossier. Everything's fake with that administration. Everything's fake with the Democrats. Take a look at what they just found about the dossier. Everything is fake. They're a bunch of sick people. Where did you see the people laying outside?
We'll talk about that in just a second. 47 had that meeting with Fed Chair Jerome Powell on Thursday, and this morning he says things are looking up.
We had a very good meeting. Forgetting about the building, that's out of control and all that. But I think we had a very good meeting on interest rates. And he said to me, now I don't know if he's going to say this on Thursday or when he ever speaks, but he said to me very strongly, the country is doing well. He said, congratulations. The country is doing really well. And I got that to mean that I think he's going to start recommending lower rates. Because of that conversation.
Also, reporters said there are homeless hanging outside the White House. 47 will actually do something about it instead of allowing it to fester, unlike most mayors in big cities around this country.
I saw homeless people sleeping right outside the gates of the White House. Are you concerned about that?
I think it's terrible, and we'll have them removed immediately. We do remove it. We've got to get the mayor to run this city properly. This city has to be run. You know, I have the right to take it over, and I think it's terrible. Where are they? Where did you see them?
Right outside on Pennsylvania Avenue.
near the Treasury.
Right across this market, have you heard about that?
All right, so he's going to take care of that. I love it. Clean it up, man. Let's go.
Well, it's not a homeless problem. It's a drug addiction and mental health problem. Mostly a drug addiction problem. Like a very small percentage are people that are not drug addicted with mental health issues, and it's an even tinier, small percentage of people that are healthy in all capacities and just dealing with job loss or maybe divorce or something to the point where they're not able to get a home. Because most of us have what's called social capital. We have friends, we have family we can rely on, right? And you have the people you're seeing out there have burned through that or never had it to begin with and are offered. Remember this. You have Catholic Charities. You have the Denver Rescue Mission. You have all of these institutions, the Salvation Army, that are there to help people, that will provide housing for you. They will help you find a job. They'll help you get food. They'll give you a haircut. They'll give you a suit to go to. They will do whatever is necessary to help you get a job. And so in light of all of these institutions that exist and all this help that exists, you still have people that want to live in tents. So what do you do with people that want to live in tents, drug addicted, who are choosing this? You can't just continue to say this is a homeless problem. This is not a homeless problem. It's a drug addiction problem.
I can't agree with you more. And then we sit back and we invite more drugs into the city and the state.
Yeah.
Why
we just
would
keep
we
legalizing stuff?
Yeah, just keep legalizing it and labeling it and normalizing it and just make us the greatest state for drugs there is. It's sickening. You know what? I see this. I don't know what you do, but when you see families with, they have 2 kids and it's kind of like part of the prop.
Yes.
And they have the sign and the husband and the wife. The wife is across the street and the husband's working this corner. What do you say to that? Do you ever talk to them? I do.
Yeah, sure. And to me, it's a scam. That's oftentimes what I've seen it, and what I've learned over the years is that they're often running multiple women, and they'll be in shopping centers or whatever with the sign and the little kid and stuff like that. And then I've watched them get into like minivans or bigger vans.
So have I.
And drive away.
That's right. A full tank of gas.
Right. I mean, and look, I get the challenge. We are Christians. Our heart leads us to care for the poor. The Bible commands us to care for the poor. And we have set up institutions in America to do just that. What you are facing out there on the street are people that are ignoring those institutions, ignoring the help, living drug addicted, and that's got to be addressed. It's a different strategy than just what's called a hot and a cot. Can we give you a hot shower, a hot meal? Oh, you'll get to work. Yeah, you're in a temporary rough spot, but you'll get out of it. You're into long-term mental health, drug addiction issues, and handing that person $5 is more often than not harming them than helping them.
Absolutely. Do not give them money. Do not. It is not helping them. 47 off to Scotland today for a 4-day private trip with plans to visit his golf resorts and meet with Scotland's first minister. Lauren Boebert receives another big endorsement from DJT. Sad day on Thursday, of course. Hulk Hogan passes away at 71 after suffering cardiac arrest at his Florida home. Here he is a year ago at the RNC.
But what happened last week when they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States? Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
That was awesome.
Top 5. Top 5 political moment ever at a convention.
I think so. And then you go back and look at it a year later, it was even better.
I think that's why it's so shocking that he passed away, because it's a year, and he looked great then.
Yeah, he did.
Do we know what he died of yet?
Well, it said cardiac arrest, so I don't know. I mean, it could have been anything, but I saw an interview a couple months ago or a month ago with him. He looked like he lost a ton of weight. So,
it's also important for this to know, everybody to know, and I hope everybody takes this very seriously, is that Hulk Hogan got very serious about his faith, was baptized.
Yeah.
Confessed.
He and his wife. Yeah.
Yep. Confessed Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. So he, as the Bible teaches, was welcomed into heaven.
Yep. That's right.
He may have lived a reckless life prior to that, but he got serious about making Jesus Christ his Lord and Savior. And in light of that, just like the thief on the cross, all the stuff gets washed away by Christ, and he gets to enter into eternity, all of time, into the presence of God because of that decision. I hope everybody takes that into light.
Amen. Amen. Well, we had Ozzy leave this world, Malcolm Jamal Warner, Hulk Hogan, and Chuck Mangione. They have all left the building. They all did it this week. Love Chuck Mangione. I don't even know if, I think he pronounced it Mangione, but he was awesome too. So have a great week. Broncos kicking off training camp today. Rockies at Baltimore tonight, 69 in Thornton, 70 in Centennial, and what do we have? 72 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue on this Friday, the last hour.
No one, especially the president, is above the law.
Don't forget that, Barry. Do not forget that. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Another day of monsoonal moisture for Colorado in the Front Range. Temperatures will be cooler with showers and thunderstorms likely today, some producing heavy rainfall. Highs will be 80s, lows tonight near 60. Upper 80s Friday, partly cloudy, widely scattered late-day thunderstorms. Only isolated thunderstorms warmer, 90s for the weekend. Weather is a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Big part of my life. I enjoyed it as a little kid. It's obviously influential as a little kid. And you're watching these guys and you're wrestling around with your dad and your brothers. And it's just like, it's so fun to be 4, 5, 6 years old and to watch wrestling and to listen to you guys dissect it and how it
such geeks.
Well, no, I mean, it's just like, it's you guys talk about wrestling in ways I had never thought about it. And I so appreciate that. And he was there ringside.
Yes.
In this industry, and that's Peter Boyles. Good morning, Pete. Thanks for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, morning.
All right, so when you guys wrestled your brothers, what was your finisher? Every great professional wrestler has a finisher. Hulk Hogan's leg drop.
Yeah,
right,
the flying elbow.
Oh,
Was
that's
that
a good
yours?
one. That's
Yeah,
a
the
nice
flying
one, Jeff.
elbow. Obviously, you wouldn't elbow him real hard, but you do the...
What was yours, Billy? What was yours?
There were a couple, okay? One of them, I love the tombstone pile driver because it's easier to protect than a regular pile driver. I love that one. And because if you did it right, you could pull it off, although it looks dangerous, I really, really enjoyed the brain buster. But you got to pull it right. It's a hard one. But again, at the time, I'm wrestling with, my brother who's younger and then my kids who are younger. And so it's smaller. So it's easier to manipulate. If I was doing something that was more my size, I'd go with something else. But that's something that plans on. Although, on a side note, now that you mentioned that, maybe when Billy was a little bit younger and he was wrestling with his younger brother and his brother's friend, he might have broken someone's arm. Yeah,
Well,
I accidentally broke my brother's friend's arm when we were pretend wrestling. Yeah, good job, Bill. I know. The thing is, he didn't protect himself. I told him you got to land flat on your back and keep the arms in. He put his arm out, and yet things went sideways. Yeah, his elbow doesn't bend that way.
Is there a greater finisher for young boys than the claw?
Oh, the claw's fantastic. Now, here's the thing is that we didn't do it as far as wrestling, but that was something that my dad had played with me as a kid, and so I did it with my kids, is it was kind of a random just like trap game that all around the house all the time, it was the claw, and I would threaten them much like Baron von Raschke, where you grab the wrist, and then you walk towards them as if the claw has got its own mind coming to get you. Oh, yeah, that was the best.
Yeah. And Baron von Raschke put the claw on me.
Ooh.
So I can tell you, he could make it hurt. His name was Jim Raschke. He was from Nebraska. He was a really wonderful, and he was an AAU guy. He was a world champion. And then he came into the pros, and I worked with him. And the first time he did a radio show with me, I said, "Put the claw on me." Ha! And he brought me up out of the seat. But they were, but we put the claw on each other. My brothers and I were famous for putting the claw on each other.
And
so that was
for me. It's got to be on the head. The stomach one, not as much believable.
The Crusher.
Yeah, Crusher was the stomach. Yeah, Baron was the head.
But Baron did the face, and then down in Texas, and they just did that whole thing about the family of suicides. They were the claw.
Yeah, the Von Erichs. Yeah,
the Von Erichs, and we've lost so many of these people. And I heard you guys talking about what was called the juice, the gas. Steroids.
Yeah.
And it killed Randy Savage. It killed probably Mr. Perfect. It probably killed, certainly I think it killed Hulk.
Yeah.
They shot that stuff for so long. And a sidebar story, there was I don't know if anybody remembers him. There was a wrestler by the name of Superstar Billy Graham.
Yep.
And he came from this imaginary family of the Grahams. Well, Billy's name was Wayne. And I knew him from before when I was working for Vern. And then he went to Japan, and he got on the gas. And when he came back, and Bobby Heenan was always sort of my mentor, tell me what to do, he said, stay away from him, because there was something called roid rage. And they were unpredictable. They could go off on you. But he had giant arms, but his forehead was full of pimples. And I think we know that steroids killed Lowell Alzado, the famous Denver Bronco. It killed so many people. And the trial, and Billy, I heard you talk about the trial. The trial was when they had to admit, the steroid trial is when they had to admit that it was all planned out. It was worked. And then Hogan went through that thing with Bubba the Love Sponge and his wife and the tape.
Brought down Gawker.
And go down the hall to Kelly Michaels. Kelly Michaels roomed with Bubba the Love Sponge. They were friends, close friends, Bubba. And so, I mean, all the stuff was interconnected. But really and I wrote about this, wrestling is and was, in the Middle Ages in Europe, there was something called morality plays. And they were Christian plays, Jeff. And they traveled. And it was the good young kid versus satanic powers. and they would travel through the villages of Europe, through France and Germany, and they would put these plays on, and eventually the final play, the good kid would win. And it's, or the Valkyries would come, but the good would eventually win. And that's modern professional wrestling. There's good and bad.
Yeah.
And they're morality plays. They are, I listened to you talk about Hogan's religion. I hope, but, I knew him a little bit, not as well as I knew a lot of the other guys. And they were still calling him Terry when I met him. and he was a product of Vern Gagne. And that farm that Vern had, that Flair came out of there, and a bunch of these different guys. But when he took off and he went to New York, and Vince McMahon saw what he was, and here's the Iron Sheik. The Iron Sheik shot the juice, and he's gone too. But they played politics with it. It was a morality play, and it traveled, and eventually the baby face, he wins, and the good guy, the heel, leaves, and then you start there's a guy called a booker, and he's writing the story. And different guys were bookers. Jack Lanza was a booker. When I worked, Dusty Rhodes was booking. And I got great stories about being on the road with those guys. And we would get to these points where we had to pay extra. I say we. They would have to pay extra for the auditorium that went past a certain time. So I was the timekeeper and the ring announcer, and I rang the bell and everything. And we'd get back in the locker room, and Dusty would say, "How much time we got, baby?" And I would say, 38 minutes. And he'd say, "Okay, we're going to bleed and go home." And that means they were going to go the razor blade, and they were going to gig themselves, and and they were going to get blood, and the crowd would go nuts, and the bad guys would win, and that set it all up for the next time. Morality play. The next time the play comes through Heidelberg, Germany, everybody's waiting because of the end of the last time they were there. And it's steeped in religious plays that were really significant in the 13th and 14th and 15th century. So, that's who these guys are. But
and what about Hogan?
That's such a fun history and analysis. I love
it is.
Go ahead, Bill.
It's all, and that's what it is. That's why they talk about the idea that people cheer the faces, the good guys, but they come and pay the money to see the bad guy lose. That's really what it is. You need the good guy to win. So, Peter Boyles, you've had experience in a longer history, and you saw the evolution of professional wrestling come out of what was mainstream, then going into the 60s and 70s where it wasn't as much, and then coming back to the mainstream with Hogan. What is Hogan's cultural significance, both in professional wrestling, but over the course of your life, just as far as a cultural icon?
Well, you can't measure what a guy like Hogan did, but he took it, and again, because of the trials, and there was something called kayfabe. They speak carny to each other. And tomorrow I have a wonderful guest at 10 o'clock who's way ahead of me on all of this, actually worked for Vince. But when they were in the ring, they spoke a language, and a language was called carny, or sometimes called kayfabe. And kayfabe was you protected the business at all, no matter what, you protected the business. And the business meant, protecting the business meant it's real. And I told you this story before, but my first or second night, when I got to sit ringside with the ring bell and the microphone and everything, and I saw the referee slip the blade to one of the guys so he could cut his own forehead. And I went, the ref's in on it. And then they slowly but surely, they call it smartening. They smartened me up. And then I would get involved in some of the things they would do. But they were all very, very tough guys. There was no weenies.
Now, Pete, looking at the idea of Hogan, one of the things that we see inside the business, Hogan breaks through and allows wrestling to become mainstream both in the 80s and then the early 90s on two different occasions. And there is one thing everyone knows, the Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant showdown. Huge deal, big giant thing. And the Giant allows Hogan to go over on him. Sure. One of the critiques of Hogan inside of the world of professional wrestling is he never put over anybody else. He has a moment in WWE where he puts the Ultimate Warrior over. Yeah. And then he also does business because Goldberg in the NWO, when he's with the NWO, Goldberg is the hottest thing in professional wrestling at the time. So it made sense as far as money. But what about the critique that Hogan never gave anybody else what Andre gave him? Your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was... that was called doing the job. Would you do the job? And Andre was on his last legs, and people knew it. And Bobby Heenan was, if you remember, they were in Detroit, and it sold the place out. And Bobby rode with him, and Andre couldn't walk, so he came in a like a golf cart, elevated golf cart. And Bob told me the story, and they didn't know what Andre was going to do that night. They really did not. But then he tells Hogan, "Get me up, put me up," and Hogan puts him up and slams him, and and that's in a moment in historical perspective, the torch passes from Andre to Hulk, And then Hulk, and by the way, the Ultimate Warrior behind his back was called the Anabolic Warrior because of anabolic steroids. And Vince thought that Hulk was past, so he put the Ultimate Warrior over. So if you remember, he became a heel. He went south with those guys, and then he became a heel. And everybody that I knew said that was the real Hulk Hogan, the Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, Hollywood.
The heel. But the people, they loved, and you gotta love to hate, and that's what sells tickets. And Heenan knew it, and they knew. He said, "Look, they may love Vern Gagne, but they come to see me get beat," and that's what sold tickets. And it was great stuff. It was smart. I learned a lot about talk radio from being around those guys.
Oh yeah,
and lot. Pete, you're going to cover this Saturday 9 to 1 on your show. So be sure to tune in because I think you're probably going to have some great conversations about this.
Well, I got a guy coming in, and he'll be kind of a surprise guest, and he worked directly for Vince. He worked for Disney, and Vince recruited him, and he really, really, really was on the inside. I mean, I was just like the ring guy that they would tell stuff to. But
this is going to be fun. I appreciate it. Pete Boyles, Saturday, 9 to 1. Be sure to tune in. 710 KNUS is going to be a fantastic conversation. Appreciate your time, Pete.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
sir.
fellas.
Let's go to the phone real quick. Robert Littleton. Good morning, Robert. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning. Thoughts on Hogan, my friend?
Hey, good morning, fellas. I think Hogan was kind of an instrumental face, and I say that both in the wrestling terminology and the obvious terminology, for taking wrestling to a kind of a national stage. I mean, there had been all these dozens of smaller promotions around the country, and Vince McMahon was really the first one to conglomerate them all and bring them into a larger company that really changed the face of the business for a very long, till today, it still is. So he was, from a cultural standpoint, from a business standpoint, he was an integral figure in that. But for me, the greatest memory I'll ever have, I must have been, 9 years old, maybe 10 years old. And WWF came to the Denver Coliseum, and Hulk Hogan was wrestling adorable Adrian Adonis, and that was the headliner.
Oh, my goodness.
My grandfather took me. And he managed to get in. He had one of those silly little Swiss Army knives, the little things that are only about 2 inches long.
Yeah.
They got the scissors, the toothpick, and all that kind of crap. Well, when Hulk Hogan tore his shirt off, which was kind of his trademark thing at the time, and throws it out into the crowd, my granddad ran down there, and we must have been 20 rows back. He ran down there to the front, fought with about 10 other dads for a piece of that shirt, pulled that little Swiss Army knife out, and cut me off a strip that's probably 2 inches wide and 3 or 4 inches long.
That is so cool.
That is amazing. What a granddad. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I still have that thing. It's in a Ziploc bag in a box of childhood memory type stuff. And when I heard Hulk Hogan pass, I got home last night and went rooting through it to make sure I still had it there because, that now means more to me than it ever did, except at the very, at the moment, of course. It was a great memory. But my granddad's also the guy that when my parents were flying to Korea to pick up my brother and sister when we adopted them, I got strep throat the day before we were supposed to leave. And so I went and stayed with my grandparents while my parents picked up my brother and sister. And my granddad got me on pay-per-view WrestleMania 2, where Hulk Hogan wrestled King Kong Bundy in a steel cage.
Oh, I remember that one.
A lot of fun and a lot of memories that you guys will be able to talk
Yeah.
about. Definitely be sure to call in with Pete on Saturday, 9 to 1. They'll be able to get into more detail on that. We've got Cowboy Poetry coming up with Jeff Hildebrandt. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is KNUS.
Wake up, Denver. There's no better place to start your morning than IHOP, where the pancakes are fluffy, the coffee is hot, and the smiles are endless. Wednesday, August 27th, join Jeff and Bill as they broadcast their show live from IHOP at 1595 South Colorado Boulevard in Denver. You're officially invited to be part of the excitement. Come grab your favorite breakfast and watch the Jeff and Bill Show in action from 6 to 10 a.m. Don't forget to try the special Jeff and Bill breakfast. Pancakes, any style eggs, and crispy bacon, all for just $7.10. It's a deal as good as their hot takes. All they need is you. Bring your appetite, bring your friends, and kick off your day with great food and great conversation. See you Wednesday, August 27th at IHOP.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show, as we like to do on Fridays. Right off into the sunset with some cowboy poetry. Joining us live in studio, Jeff Hildebrandt. Good morning, Jeffrey.
Good morning. I really enjoyed listening to you guys talk to Pete.
Yeah.
I always enjoy that when he's on. And I especially like, Billy, your reference to the, what'd you call it, the tombstone?
Oh, that tombstone pile driver.
Tombstone pile driver. I'll tell you, as a kid, that always made me feel like I had to erp.
I walked right into that one. I should have seen that a mile away. Damn it, you got me again.
Anyway, okay.
What do you got for us?
Shall we get started?
Let's do it.
All right. Cowboy legends. He's a cowboy legend from his hat to his boots. He could ride like the wind. He could rope and could shoot. And when we were young on a Saturday, we would watch him for hours at the matinee. He'd ride across that prairie on the big silver screen, and we called him Wild Bill, Lash LaRue, Eddie Dean. He's a cowboy legend with a cowboy's code that says, give all you got, but just take what you're owed. He was there when folks needed him. That was his way. And Gene Autry hoped we'd do the same thing someday. He was king of the cowboys, a white hat was his crown, and he'd never kick dogs or a man who was down. He sat tall in the saddle, and he rolled like the wind, and I wish that Roy Rogers could ride by again. The Lone Ranger, Charles Sterrett, Don Barry, Bob Steele, Hoot Gibson, and Hoppy had family appeal. Well, the good guys are gone. What's left us today are heroes whose morals and feet are of clay. So I guess if young cowpokes are going to learn how to respect one another, we have to start now to teach them there's value in all that God's made, to show love and compassion, not anger and hate. The young ones need heroes to learn what to do. So saddle up, partners, 'cause that hero is you.
That's great.
That's really nice. I don't think you can stand the pressure. But
Yippee-ki-yay.
That's great.
That's wonderful. What else?
Well, the owner of the J-Bar H had supper with his crew and later told the foreman, there's something you must do. I've noticed quite a pungent and unpleasant sort of stink coming from the bunkhouse. So this is what I think. If the men would change their underwear more often than they do, the place would smell much better. Now I'll leave it up to you. So the foreman told the wranglers, the boss thinks you guys stink and says to change your underwear. So this is what I think. Slim, you change with Mitchell, and Dusty change with Bob, and if you change back in a week, that should do the job. Now, the moral of this story has been known for quite a spell. Not every change that's promised will take away the smell.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That is a great one. Love it. Love it.
Love
well,
that
we're
one.
listening to Jeff Hildebrandt. He's going to continue to bring us some more cowboy poetry. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
up Cowboy Poetry. And the person who provides that for us is Jeff Hildebrandt, a world-famous cowboy poet performing at Carnegie Hall. He's got books published on Amazon.com where you can go.
And international, even in China.
Yeah, that's right. He performed in China.
If you come here to the radio station and are waiting when I finish, my trunk is full.
No, you don't drive a car. You ride off on your horse.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, the only reason he has all those with him is because his wife is like, can you just get these books out of the house? Can you do something with them?
I have more clothes to hang up. Would you please clear the closet?
Exactly.
Okay. Anyway, okay. So this is a true story. This is in the history books. And, okay, enough said. The West is littered with remains of towns whose only worth was the gold and silver wrestled from the unforgiving earth. But a town southwest of Denver had a different tale to tell, and this is just what happened when its miners went through hell. In October 1861, to a camp called Buckskin Joe, came a mutton puncher with a herd from down in Mexico. But he brought more than sheep, it said to the folks in Buckskin Joe. He brought a case of smallpox, and he was first to go. An epidemic gripped the town, folks dropping left and right. The women all packed up and left, except one who stayed to fight. She nursed the sick and dying, and laid the dead to rest in a graveyard midst the aspens, there below the mountain crest. They say she was a dance-hall girl, and no one knew her name. Though she was shunned by the decent folk, she helped them just the same. Folks said she'd won the favor of a silver miner there, who made her shoes with silver heels that she would always wear. And the last thing many miners saw when their life on earth was done was her smiling face and silver heels glistening in the sun. Well, when the epidemic ended, the survivors in the town came to show their gratitude, but she could not be found. They immortalized her sacrifice so we would always know of the tarnished mercy angel in that camp called Buckskin Joe. They didn't build a statue or hang up any sign. Instead, they picked the grandest thing around that they could find. Nearly 14,000 feet it soars, this rocky mountain high that's known now as Mount Silver Heels. She's the reason why. Well, the mining camp called Buckskin Joe is just a memory. Ghost town full of broken dreams. It's all that's left to see. Unless, of course, you look beyond the mere fact this occurred and see it as a parable like those which fill God's Word. The message of Mount Silver Heels reminds us here today how the least becomes the greatest in God's own mysterious way. The stone, at first rejected, was the one that saved the wall, like the man the world rejected, who was Savior of us all.
That's great, Jeff. Thank you so much. Wonderful poetry by Jeff Hildebrandt. You can go to Amazon.com, purchase his books there. Great addition to our show. Thank you so much.
Yes, great addition, and they're definitely affordable. That's the thing. Is it's there are a lot of out there that these are really affordable, and they're wonderful gifts. You've got things coming up that are good, and we're going to be screaming before you know it towards the holiday season. We talk about it during the Christmas time.
Just enjoy reading this summer.
Yeah.
Go check out Jeff Hildebrandt's book at Amazon. Also, if you're looking for a great place for lunch this weekend or dinner, check out the Black Eyed Pea of Colorado, locally owned and operated by Steve and Michelle. I love this restaurant. 8 locations. There's sure to be one near you. It's Colorado Cookout and barbecue time at the Black Eyed Pea. Their July menu is featuring backyard combos, the St. Louis Rib Combo, the Barbecue 2 Meat Combo. They have barbecue pulled pork, barbecue chicken breast, and barbecue smoked sausage. So good. So many opportunities. Maybe you're hankering for a sandwich. They have barbecued Polish sausage topped with grilled onions, or you can do the tender, slow-cooked barbecue pulled pork sandwich topped with cold slaw, both served on a toasted brioche bun. They also do catering, so if you got a dinner party, rehearsal dinner, wedding reception, or company event, make it a success with a Black Eyed Pea catering. And no matter what the occasion, Black Eyed Pea gift cards are always great. For your special someone, birthday favors, or holiday presents, they have you covered. I love everything about this restaurant. I know you will as well. Support local, keep it in Colorado, and visit the Black Eyed Pea near you. If you're looking for some great coffee to enjoy this weekend, check out Cato's Coffee, KATOSKOFFEE.com, KATOSKOFFEE.com. They've got absolutely delicious coffee started by Steve in honor of his dog, Cato. When you make a purchase, it goes to support pets and improving the environment. Delicious flavor profiles like the Cowboy Blend. They've got a house blend, Bale Blue, Columbia, Asian Plateau Blend, even a breakfast blend and an Italian roast. All of that at KATOSKOFFEE.com. And if you use the code Jeff and Bill 10, Jeff and Bill 10, no spaces at checkout, you'll get a 10% discount for your order.
We're doing the hazelnut this morning.
Woo,
it's
delicious.
Really good.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, normally you got to add in the hazelnut as far as a creamer or something. This is a blend that includes the hazelnut flavor. It's really good because I don't always want the creamy or this foofy stuff inside of my coffee. I want a black. And so I get the hazelnut and I get that nice flavor. Again, non-acidic. Yeah, this is a really good blend. This is wonderful this morning.
Well, it's been a fantastic show. We talked with Scott Bottoms earlier in the program. Can an evangelical Christian even get elected statewide in Colorado? It feels like you can be just about any other religion except for that. So why is that? We discussed with Scott Bottom. Also, ICE now forcing ankle monitors upon illegal immigrants as they work through the legal process. Is that fair and right? All of that at 710knus.com. Plus, poetry from Jeff Hildebrandt, our Cowboy Poet laureate.
So good.
Thank you to everybody for a wonderful week. You've been listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader, 710 KNUS.